The wind howled through the pines as Elena trudged along the forest path, her flashlight beam quivering on the mossy ground. The late autumn air was crisp, but a damp chill curled around her bones. She had taken this shortcut a dozen times on her way back from the research cabin. But tonight something felt off, like the woods themselves were holding their breath. She rounded a bend and nearly tripped over a gnarled root. Shaking off her unease, she shone her light upward. The trees arched overhead, their skeletal branches clawing at the slate-grey sky. In the distance, a thin ribbon of mist hugged the ground. It wasn't unusual this time of year, but tonight it moved unnaturally, drifting closer, swirling as if beckoning her forward. Elena's footsteps faltered. She considered turning back, but a strange pull urged her on. Deeper into the forest, the path narrowed, and the trees closed in. The only sound was her breath, shallow and rapid, and the distant cry of an owl. Then, very faintly, she heard something else. A low, rhythmic tapping, like knuckles drumming on wet bark. Her heart thundered. She stopped and listened. The tapping ceased. For a moment, there was only the hush of the woods. Then came a whisper, soft, breathy, almost delighted. Elena. It trailed off, as though something, had lost interest. She spun, sweeping her flashlight through the darkness, but no one was there. The whisper came again, this time from behind a nearby cedar. "Come play." A shiver raced down her spine. She forced herself to take a step backward, aiming for the faint glow of civilization that marked the edge of the forest. The mist thickened, pooling at her feet like pale smoke. The tapping resumed, louder and insistent, echoing through the trees. She realized with a jolt that it wasn't on the bark. It was coming from somewhere nearby, maybe directly behind her. "Who's there?" she called, her voice cracking. No answer, only the rhythm of tapping, now joined by another sound, the soft creak of branches swaying, though no breeze stirred. She turned, shining her light desperately into the gloom. At the edge of the beam, she saw a slender figure perched on a fallen log, a child, pale-faced, with tangled hair and eyes that glowed faintly red in the dim light. The child's lips curved into a grin that stretched too wide, revealing too many teeth. Elena's scream caught in her throat. The girl tilted her head, as if examining a curious toy. "Why are you here?" Elena managed, her voice trembling. The child's tapping hand traced slow circles on the log. "I come when I'm called," she whispered, voice barely more than a rasp. "They told me someone would play." Elena stumbled backward, but the forest around her seemed to shift. The path behind was swallowed by darkness. The mist rose, curling around her ankles like live snakes. She stepped forward, away from the child, but the underbrush closed in, thick and unyielding. Panic surged as the tapping became a chorus, many hands drumming on wood, on stone, on unseen surfaces, rising in a macabre symphony. The girl's laughter echoed, fragile and brittle. "Hide and seek, Elena," she breathed. "Let's begin." Elena spun her flashlight around, searching for an escape. The trees appeared to warp, their trunks twisting into grotesque shapes. Shadows flickered where none should have been. A triangulated shadow here, a hunched silhouette there. Her light caught something moving behind a cluster of ferns, two glowing eyes, unblinking, reflecting faintly like embers. She gasped and whirled away. The eyes vanished. She ran, jolting through brambles, tripping over roots that reached out like skeletal fingers. The tapping followed her, ever present, relentless. Each time she slowed, the girl materialized ahead, perched on a stump or balancing atop a log, always smiling, that too wide grin. "You can't hide," she taunted. "I know where you are." Elena's lungs burned. She burst into a small clearing where moonlight filtered through a ragged veil of clouds. In the center stood an old stone well, its mouth rimmed with cracked, moss-covered stones. The mist pooled around the well as if drawn to it. Desperate, Elena scrambled to the edge, peering into the darkness below. She could not see the bottom, only an impenetrable void, as if the well led to nowhere but blackness itself. She heard a scuffling behind her and spun to face the child, whose feet hovered inches off the ground. The glowing eyes from before flashed at Elena's back. She realized then that there were many of them, barely visible figures pressed against the edge of the clearing, limbs twisted, faces half-formed in the dim light. They all stared at her with hungry intent. A crooked hand reached toward her. "Do you see them?" the child whispered. "They've watched for so long." The figures swayed, their forms dissolving into mist when she stared directly at them, only to solidify if she looked away. The tapping slowed, then stopped, leaving a suffocating silence. "I'll make a deal," Elena gasped, her voice hushed. "Let me go." The girl's grin widened. "You want to go home? You must give something in return." The wind stilled. The forest held its breath. Elena's mind raced. What could she offer? Her fear? She clenched her teeth and raked her memory for anything of worth. Then, with trembling hand, she placed her necklace, a simple silver locket containing a faded photograph of her mother, on the ledge of the well. The girl tilted her head and let out a sound that was almost a laugh, but deep and discordant. "Such a lovely gift," she whispered, plucking the locket and dangling it above the well's void. "But the deal is not sealed." The locket slipped from her grasp, clanging against the stone rim and falling into the darkness with a hollow echo. Elena gasped, her breath catching in her throat. Suddenly, the grip at the back of her neck loosened. Something cold and sinewy released her. The glowing eyes retreated, dissolving into drifts of mist. The tapping crescendoed once more, then faded. The girl drifted backward, shrinking into the gloom. "We are forever grateful," she said, voice fading. "We'll find you again." Then she was gone. The forest exhaled. The mist receded, and the path beyond the clearing reappeared, illuminated by a sliver of moonlight. Elena stumbled toward it, half dazed, hugging her racing heart. She didn't look back. When she emerged onto the paved road, her jacket torn and her flashlight flickering, she saw the first lights of the cabin in the distance. She collapsed against a tree, gasping for air. In her hand, clenched tight, was the chain that once held the locket, now empty. She blinked, tears blurring her vision. Turning the empty chain over and over, she realized that the photograph was gone. A cold dread sank into her chest. She vowed never to return to the forest alone. But even as she spoke, the words aloud, she could not rid herself of the lingering sensation of being watched. That night, and many nights after, she dreamt of knuckles tapping on bark, of hungry eyes in the dark, and a pale child grinning over the edge of the well, waiting to play once more.